Arman Tsarukyan goes off on Ilia Topuria once again. Here's what he had to say on Twitter. Who wants to let Ilia know he's not McGregor and that he's making all the champs look really bad? Champs fight the number one contender, but this is the same guy who thinks he's the BMF. How do you say pussy in Spanish? That's number one lightweight Arman Tsarukyan wants that fight with Ilia Topuria this December for the title. Is this the fight to book by the UFC? I think it is. Put Gaethje versus Paddy. Let them fight it out. And give Arman his rightful title shot. Wow. Jeez. Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker had a lot to say. Let's start with Dan Hooker on Paddy versus Ilia in the lightweight division. Here's what Dan Hooker had to say. They might actually do Paddy versus Ilia, which is an absolute piss take. But who cares? At the end of the day, he's not going to hold the belt for very long. Logically, Ilia should fight Arman, but he won't, as Arman is really tough fighter. If you're sitting with the title and getting paid the pay-per-view points, and you've got to fight Arman, Gaethje, or Paddy, if you're smart, you take Paddy. You're going to get the most money and the worst fighter. So it's like a win-win for Ilia Topuria. That is Dan Hangman Hooker giving his take on the current state of the UFC lightweight division. Wow, Dan Hangman Hooker. Let's move right along to some Dominic Reyes news. Dominic Reyes. He was on the Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman and Triple C, Henry Cejudo. Here's what he had to say about Johnny Bones Jones. I won the first 3 rounds against Jones easily. That's Dominic Reyes. He went off on JonJones also. Here's what he had to say. He just strings along and lies and tells this and that. He's not being a genuine man. That's why everybody mad about it. He's just trying to play with all of us. After our fight, I lobbied for a rematch the entire year. He dropped the belt and went to heavyweight. People forget that too. JonJones ran from me. That's Dominic the Dominator Reyes on the Pound for Pound podcast. Oh my. Ha 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 ha. Love it, man. Love it. Here's what Dan Hooker had to say about Khabib Nurmagomedov. The enemy of every fighter is Father Time. We've only had one fighter get in and get out after a good streak, and that's Khabib. If you think he retired like, there's no one to challenge me, I'm going to retire, he's a very smart fighter. Khabib was undefeated, and he knew if he kept taking those chances, he would get clipped in so many different ways in our sport. Khabib was a very smart fighter, and that's one fighter in MMA history that's got in and got out with the perfect record. That's Dan Hangman Hooker on Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Update on Johnny Bones Jones. Jon Jones has 2 upcoming court dates, August 14th and September 2nd. Both are set as bench trials for allegedly leaving the scene of an accident. Jon Jones' attorney filed a motion to dismiss the duplicate charge, but there has been no filing yet. Bruce Buffer. It's time. Here's what Bruce has to say about his retirement talk. I plan to be at UFC 400. We're at 318, 319. He wants to do 82 more. Here's what he had to say once again. I plan to be at UFC 400. That's a goal. I figure I got another 8 years or so. That's my plan. That's Bruce Buffer. That's great, man. Interesting news out of the heavyweight division yesterday. Let me grab my notes. Martin Buday, 16-2 record, 8-1 in the UFC, including his Dana White Contender Series TKO, has been cut from the UFC. Martin Buday put a message out on Twitter saying the UFC decided not to re-sign him. Martin won 2 weeks ago, UFC Abu Dhabi, against Bucheska, won by unanimous decision. The heavyweight division is really thin already, guys. Really thin. Are you really going to cut a 16-2, 7-1 on the octagon fighter? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It's a little head scratcher. Tell me what you think. Drop a comment. Interesting, right? Conor McGregor back in the news. Conor McGregor lost his appeal. His attorney appealed the sexual assault case, and they lost it. So Conor McGregor has lost his appeal in the sexual assault case from 2018. And that's the news from Conor McGregor. Let's get into some UFC picks for this weekend. Let's do it. Got everything all queued up. We're going to do the main card. Let's start with the main card. Yeah. You know what? Let's just start with the prelims. Let's do the prelims all the way to the main card today. Start off on the women's strawweight bout. Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlin Souza. I'm going to go with Ketlin Souza. Rafael Estevam, this is flyweight, men's flyweight, versus Felipe Buenas. 2 Brazilians. I'm going to go with Esteban. Men's featherweight, Austin Bashi versus John Yanis. I'm going to go with Austin Bashi. Middleweight bout, Nick Klein versus Andre Pulyav. I'm going to go with Nick Klein. Middleweights, Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. I'm going with Rodolfo. Trains over here, American Top Team down in South Florida. Bantamweight bout, Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. I'm going to go with Rinya Nakamura. Featherweight bout, Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. I'm going to go with Kevin Vallejos. Welterweight bout, Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zelensky dos Santos. I'm going to go with my man, Neil Magny. Women's bantamweight, number 10, Carol Rosa versus number 12, Nora Cornoli. I'm going with Nora Cornoli. France, let's do it. Lightweight, Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovic. I'm going with Brenner. Lightweight, Matus Rebecki versus Chris Duncan. I'm going with Matus Rebecki. Flyweight bout, Tatsuro Taira versus Hung Sung Park. And this is your main event. This is a tough one, guys. I'm going to go with Taira from Japan. And there's your UFC Fight Night this weekend, live from the Apex, baby. Everybody missed the Apex? Not me. All right, big shout out to Jackson Podcast. They got a brand new podcast out last night. You got Brendan Schaub cutting it up with Rampage Jackson and Bear. Big shout out to Santos Studios. Thank you for all the gear, the merch. Get that going. Make sure you check out SantosStudios.com if you want some of their gear. Jackson Podcast. Jackson Podcast can be found on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you check them out. And big shout out also to Jackson Jewelry. Got us iced up for this episode. And that's it, fight fans. We're just going through the Twitter feed. Not a heck of a lot of news today. We kind of covered it all. And that's it. Everybody have a great day, great weekend. It's Friday. Tomorrow is the event. It's going to be normal time, probably 6 or 7 prelims. 10 o'clock main card from Vegas. And that's all we got. Have a great weekend, fight fans.